Here we go then. There are now 10 drivers lining on the grid. And we're going to get started then. All the drivers are having their setups finalised. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 red lights are out and away we go. Some drivers pulling to the left. We've got Richie trying to go around the outside, or down the inside actually, of Champ as we go through the north curve. He's going to move up to second. He's overtaken Bruce, and that's going to be side by side as we head towards turn 2, 3 and 4. Richie's going to try and get past. Flashing lights there from Champ as they're side by side. Bit of contact, nothing too serious though. And in the background we can see a bit of battling. Anyway, heading through towards the hairpin along turn 5 of the Parabolica. Left hand, the slipstream is going to be very powerful as Richie's going to look to the outside to try and get past. He's not going to be able to make it though. He's just a bit too far back, although he might be able to make a switchback on the exit. It's all about how quickly he can get down the power, and he's done it. He's side by side now with Champ. The gap is almost nothing as they head towards the right hand, and he's got the position, and that's Champ in the barrier. That is not good, and that's going to drop him very far down the order. Linesfoot running very deep there into Mercedes. He nearly went into the back of Ugbar. That would not have been good. Champ has rejoined the track. Smithy going a bit slowly there. I'm not quite sure why that is. He got hit actually. Fonham going through Mercedes. He's run deep though, and that's going to give Tuggy Bear the opportunity to try and get past. I'm not sure if he's going to be close enough to make it. Yeah, I think Fonham looked like he was letting him through there just to try and avoid any serious contact. Here we go then. Big shuffling around of the orders after that contact there with Champ going into the barrier. It's going to disappoint some drivers. Maybe one for the stewards later on this evening. Here we go then. Champ will be looking to reclaim some of those positions that he's lost. And Bruce has gained a lot of time, but I think he's got a slowdown warning for that. Because, yeah, he did close up quite rapidly to Richie there, but now he's 2 seconds behind. So Richie, it's only been one lap, but he's already running away with the lead. Fantastic driving from him. Just try and set up contact and keep it going there. You can see the timings up on the board. Anyway, we'll get back to the on-track action because it's quite close between Grandad and Champ, but also Lionsfoot and Ugbar are ones to watch. So we're gonna ride on board with Champ as he's gonna move to the inside as we go through Mobile 1. He's absolutely not Mobile 1. Into Mercedes, absolutely sped past Grandad there. He's obviously got a better setup, and now it's going to be side by side, and that's someone going very wide. I think that was Ugbar there, nearly just about avoiding contact with Lionsfoot as we head in towards Zach. So they are very close, just tenths of a second separate them, and that's a bit of a lock up there in the background for Champ, keeping an eye on that tyre where they'll probably be running hard with the temperature of Hockenheim. I'm not entirely sure what the track temperature is right now. It is ambient 22, 31 track, so hard's probably the best tyre choice at this point in time. Anyway, Lionsfoot not really closing up behind Ugbar. In fact, he's losing time, although Champ is gaining time on Lionsfoot at a rate of absolute knots. As we go through the first turns 2, 3 and 4 on towards the Parabolica, Champ will be looking to get past Lionsfoot and try and catch back up to Richie. Bruce is in somewhat of a pursuit of Richie, but he's losing a bit of time there. And Champ going down the inside of Lionsfoot, and there's contact, but none of them have spun out, and Champ's had to back off there. But he'll be looking to make up that position as soon as possible. He's going to try and reclaim all those positions, as you say, Joe. He's on a charge. He wants to make up all that time he lost for having a spin on lap 1. Anyway, heading towards towards the Mobile 1 curve of turn 11. That was a slowdown, and Champ's run wide, as has Lionsfoot. And no positions will be exchanged there. Keep an eye on the timing. It looks like Tuggy Bear and Smithy might be relatively close. In fact, that's Smithy the wrong way round. That is very unfortunate for him. He's just span it, I think, on the exit of Mercedes. Unfortunate for him. Of course, you've got to watch the power, although there is fair access to traction control settings in these cars. Champ has finally made it past Lionsfoot, and he'll be looking to catch up with Ugbar next, who's just 1.5 seconds ahead of him. So this will be very interesting on the exit of where are they? Turn 4. He'll be trying to get a distant toe off of that car in front of him. I'm not sure he's going to be able to hold on to it. A couple of slowdowns I can hear being set off. I think that's from Champ and Lionsfoot. As Champ gets the power down very early. And it looks like he might be able to get Akbar on the inside. Yes, he does. Excellent move there from the driver. As we head out of turn 10 in the blink of an eye. That just shows how much downforce these cars have. Now in the background, though, we've got Lionsfoot trying to get past Akbar. So that is going to be very close. We'll ride inside the cockpit as Akbar has run wide, and that's going to give the position straight to Lionsfoot. We'll go back on the trackside camera. But there we go. We've got Champ just ahead of us now. There's a lapped car already. That's me, actually, in the pit lane. So ignore that. Lionsfoot, he's still got to defend from Champ. Champ's got to defend from Lionsfoot even. Smithy really struggling with the cars, and I think he's going to go. Bruce Law's disconnected. One of the leading battlers has disconnected, and that's going to give Richie pretty much the win of the race, as long as he can just keep it nice and stable. They've had a couple disconnections there, leaving us with just 7 drivers, so I'm not sure where half of them went. Of course, if there's a mass disconnection, we might have to restart the lobby, and that would mean more than that would mean having 5 drivers disconnect or more. So that is not ideal circumstances for the race. Anyway, let me just hop to my sheet of random info. So, Champ, the driver in the black and green prototype, is from North Dakota, and he loves the hybrid management of the LMP1s. So that is one thing to look out for him, and you can see he has got the pace. All he has to do is just keep it on the black stuff from now, and he might be able to get a very nice finish, especially in the feature race where he can try and make up what has gone wrong so far. And yeah, that disconnection from Bruce Law has put Lionsfoot in a podium playing spot. So we'll have to wait and see what he can make of that. And we'll see what can happen. As we're looking at the timings actually, Grandad is faster than Akbar on that previous lap, although Akbar has regained all that time. He's gained 6 seconds in that lap. So yeah, he clearly just had a bit of a bad one. Champ is currently lapping faster than Richie though, by about 0.6 of a second. Already nearly halfway through the race though. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to catch up by the end. He's got 18 seconds to make up, which is quite a hefty amount. And we'll have to watch out for things like fuel management. I know in the GT3 race last Sunday, a couple of drivers ran out of fuel on the final lap of the feature race. So you have always got to be careful about that. Bruce Law, the man who disconnected though, he's from Chester in the UK, and as I said earlier, he loves cars with downforce. And also we have Uni Clark. He's not racing tonight, neither is the console. Although Tuggy Bear is from Chesterfield, and he loves to play rugby. And I think unfortunately for him, if he watched the match this morning, disappointment in all of the England fans' hearts, as it was a scrappy game from the men in white. And South Africa, of course, won, so congratulations to them. But I don't know why I'm talking about rugby in the middle of a race, but there we go. This is Akbar, and Champ trying to make his charge back up through the field. He's actually losing time to Richie now, so it looks like Richie has this in the bag, as long as he can stay consistent and just keep it on the track. Taking down the order, though, it's not been the greatest race of Fonham. He's been lapped by pretty much everyone, and he's got cold tyres right now. He's running the softs, although so is Tuggy Bear. Grandad then is currently heading through turns 2, 3 and 4, or the Einfahrt Parabolica, as they like to call it in the country that Hockenheim is located, of course, Germany. Champ there, he's staying consistently behind Richie, so onwards to the feature race. If they've got pretty much equal pace and none of them have any huge mistakes, we could be in for a very exciting battle for the lead, and that would last around 26 laps. Unlucky Alex for not being able to race tonight. But Lyons for a podium, you reckon, as well. So Lyonsfoot, all he has to do is make it to the end. He's at 9 seconds clear of Agbar, and he's just 7 seconds behind Champ. So yeah, you never know. If he manages to put in some very good laps, he might just catch up to Champ, although it's quite unlikely to make up 7 seconds over the course of just 5 laps, but you never know. Anyway, with just 7 drivers remaining, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Lyonsfoot with 11 litres of fuel remaining, and that's fine. I'm just letting him through, trying not to cause any disruption. Fair driving from him. And we'll just have a flick through. This is our race leader. He's absolutely flying through turns 13 and 14 there as he heads towards the Südkurve. Fortunately, it's not raining because that drag strip between turns 15 and 16, we saw what happened at the German Grand Prix in Formula 1. And yeah, it wasn't exactly the best, although it's probably the best race we've had all season in Formula 1. Speaking of which, there is, of course, qualifying tonight. I won't say anything about that because I can't be bothered to get it up in the background. But that is, of course, at Circuit of the Americas, which will be quite an interesting race. Looking forward to, hopefully, Max Verstappen winning tomorrow evening. Although I'll miss the first half of the race due to... the last half of the race, actually, because of the GT3s. I'm sure some other drivers will as well. Lyonsfoot losing a bit of time to Champ, but he's got a fairly decent pace in his prototype. I always get confused. I can't remember which one's the Marek and which one's the RWD. Okay, so the RWD has the those kind of headlights, and the Marek has the different kind of headlights, I think. Anyway, yeah, so the Audi is the most unpopular prototype in the game. Of course, they don't use the 2016 prototypes because they're just the DLC cars, but they do have manual hybrid management, so they can always be quite fun. And the Audi R18 of 2016 is a lot better in this game than the 2014 variation. This is Agbar then, and at the back Fonum, he's 3.5 minutes off the lead. It's not the greatest race for him. I think he's had a couple of mistakes here and there, but let's see if he can bounce back for the feature race. Looks like he's going quite slowly through the hairpin there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see fuel. It looks like the driver's on roughly similar amounts of fuel. 8 litres there for Champ. That should be enough for the end. We've got roughly 2.5 laps to go. So we'll have to wait and see, but this will be interesting. I think Tuggy Bear's about to get lapped. In fact, he's just been lapped by the leader of Richie, I believe. Yes, he has. And he'll get Champ behind him relatively soon. So Lyonsfoot likely to get on the podium. He's faster than Agbar, and he's slightly slower than Champ, so this will be interesting. Champ is catching a bit towards the end of the race, but it's not going to be enough to take that win unless Richie does make a huge mistake. And we can see a bit of tyre smoke on the exit of Sachs. Anyway, as we head towards the south curve to start lap 11 of 13 this evening. It's fantastic driving by Richie. He just has those setups nailed down, and he has so much pace in these prototypes. It's pretty unbelievable. He's coming up to lap Fonum again, so hopefully there will be no controversy here and he can just get past him. No big deal. They're heading through Parabolica, and good driving from there. Just Fonum letting him through. Richie giving him a quick flash of the headlights to acknowledge Fonum's racing or sportsmanship. Heading through turn 5 of the hairpin now. With a couple more comments. If you do have any predictions for the race, do let me know. And yeah, I agree with you, Alex. Richie just has absolute buckets of pace in that Toyota. I don't know where he manages to dig it out from, but if I had that kind of talent, that'd be quite nice. But Bruce Law's rejoined, so hopefully he'll be able to get back into it for the feature race. And I'm not sure who's doing the formation lap order. So if it's me, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, yeah, the champ, he's running quite low on fuel. I think he might not make it to the end, and that could put Akbar in the position to take a podium. Unless, yeah, he's got 4.5 laps to go, 4.5 litres to go, just over 2 laps. And we're on the penultimate lap now with Richie. So I think that's going to be interesting with Champ. If he can make it to the end, those 4 litres should be enough. There he is flashing his lights across the line. He's down a second on that lap, but he shouldn't lose any positions from that. He is 12 seconds ahead of Lancer. Wait, no. Leads on board. Being a bit weird there. But anyway, Champ. Yeah, there he is. He's about 14 seconds ahead of Lancer, and he's going to make his way past. I think that's Tuggy Bear there. Yeah, good move there, just from Tuggy Bear, letting him through and causing no disruption to the order of the race. Running a bit wide there, Champ, but he's managed to keep it on track and avoid getting a slowdown. Of course, slowdowns in this game can cause a fair amount of frustration. Still on lap 12. It's going to be very tight for Champ here. He's got 2.5 litres to go with 1.5 laps to go. He started this lap with 4.5 litres, so he needs to finish with over 2.2. He might just be able to make it. It's going to be cutting it very close here as Richie does start the final lap. He's already gone through the Nordkurve into the Einfahrt Parabolica, which leads out onto the main Parabolica with a K, of course, because it is German. Heading towards the hairpin, otherwise known as the Spitzkehre, probably. Heavy braking then, braking slightly before that curb begins on the left-hand side. Good use, that's good for a brake marker, I'd say. But it's going to be very close for Champ. He might, he'll probably make it. He's probably worked out in his head. He might have dropped it down to lean mix just in case, because you never know. Anyway, heading through Mercedes goes Richie. He's absolutely dominated this race, but just a second. Oh no, that was the time board conning me again. I thought there was just about to be a bit of a moment there between Lionsfoot and Akbar, but Akbar is 12 seconds off. Anyway, through Sachs for the final time, heading in towards 13 and 14, the left-right flick. Heavy braking into turn 15 before heading through the Sundkurve for the final time. Goes Richie to take the win here this evening at the Hockenheimring for the sprint race. Champ here behind him, heading through the Mobile 1 curve now. Then heavy braking into Sachs. He's got Tuggy Bear behind him, so Tuggy Bear doing well to stay behind and just try and keep up with him. And yeah, he's going to have more than enough fuel as we come towards the finish line here. Champ braking and then going into the Sundkurve for the final time to take second. But following him, it looks like Lionsfoot is going to be able to get onto the podium. We've got Tuggy Bear, he's also crossed the line. And I think Grandad will be the last across the line when we get to that point. But here comes Lionsfoot. He's going to take the podium here following Bruce Law disconnecting, which I'm sure he won't be too impressed about. But there he goes across the line, flashing the headlights. He's going to be very chuffed with that result. Next will be Akbar as he heads through turn 14 and 15. Running a bit narrow through the final turn, but better narrow than wide. And across the line, it's going to be 4th place there for Akbar. Then finally, the last prototype to make it to the finish line that goes Grandad through Sachs in his white and orange number 12. Dabbing on the brakes there before heading through the final turn, and he'll finish in 5th. Across the line then, bit of a wiggle there, and he's going to give us a quick flash, and he'll be happy with that. That is the race complete then. No, actually Fonan will be the final one across the line to take final position, and there you can see on the right. So that is your finishing order. It's going to be Richie, Champ, Lionsfoot, Akbar, Grandad, Tuggy Bear and Fonam. Of course, we'll be going into a reverse grid, and I'm just going to quickly ask who's going to be reading out the order. Anyway, heading through Sachs now and into the final couple of turns before we can start this evening. Black and gold is the livery of Fonum, and I must say it does look very nice. Here we go then, everyone lining up as we head towards the Südkurve before we get onto the straight. Everyone very compacted here, just 7/10 within each other. We can wait for Fonum to choose. Wait for Fonum to go flat out. He can go anytime, and he's gone, I think. Yes, he has. He's gone. And we're going to get started this evening. It's going to be too wide in the background between Champ and Grandad. Grandad spun it, though, and he's had a bit of a spin on the exit of the North Curve as there's drivers all over the place as we head through the Einfahrt Parabolica. There's someone wiggling all over the place. Bit of argy-bargy there as we've got Champ and Bruce all side by side, and it looks like someone's been rammed up the rear as there's a driver going very deep on the exit there. We're going to go with Tuggy Bear, though, because he's got someone right up his chuff. It looks like Ugbar. They're going to be going through the Parabolica now. Fonum trying to go to the outside, and we might see 3 wide as we head in towards the hairpin. This is going to be very, very close. Down the inside goes Ugbar and Fonum on Tuggy Bear. Tuggy Bear's going to go for the switchback move. It looks like he's defending it from both of them as they both run deep. Although it looks like a decent exit from Ugbar. He's going to get the position. Will Fonum get the position as well? This is very, very close driving from the drivers, but it looks like Ugbar's got that position. Tuggy Bear's going to send it around the outside into Mercedes, but he's not quite close enough to make a move. These drivers dropping back a bit now. Bruce Law then in his Marek. He's close behind the drivers in front as Champ's going to have a sniff at the inside line of Richie, but it's not going to be enough. Lionsfoot is now leading from the front in first place. It's been a decent start for him. In fact, he's got a commanding lead of 1.5 seconds. As in the background, Champ's had to back off a bit from Richie so as to avoid contact. Heading along the straight then to start the second lap of the race. It says 3, but it is really 2. Best up on his previous best lap by 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Of course, that was quite a long formation lap. Anyway, and that is Champ trying to have a sniff of the inside line of Richie. He's not close enough to make a move, though, although he's not much further behind as they head through Parabolica now. In the background, we've got a bit of a battle emerging between Tuggy Bear and I think that is Grandad, although Tuggy Bear's off on the grass and that's not going to be ideal for him, and he's lost a bit of time to Ugbar now. Ugbar's gaining time. Bruce a bit back behind the top 3, but he'll be looking to improve upon that. The dirty air will be affecting these drivers quite harshly right now, and that will not be in the following driver's favour. And you can see Champ is dropping a bit behind Richie, and Richie just isn't close enough to Lionsfoot to follow, especially through that section there. The dirty air really makes you lose a lot of grip. Although the tyres will be beginning to warm up now, heading through towards Sachs. And then it turns 13 and 14. Still quite close between these top drives. We'll have a look in the background though, or look back down the pack, just try and keep an eye out for any battles that may emerge. In the background I've got Bruce Law quite close behind, although Richie is right up the chuff of Lion's Foot. Can he get the position? He's going to move to the inside as we head towards the Einfahrt Parabolica. He had the speed and he's absolutely going to breeze past. Fonum has disconnected. Lionsfoot trying to get back past here as we head through turn 5 Parabolica. But it's going to be Richie in the lead of the race now, having taken it away from Champ. Bruce Law slightly further behind. It looks like he's struggling to keep up with this top 3. Although he may just be running a different strategy, or maybe doing a strategy, just trying to keep a bit of space so he's got the grip and trying not to wear his tyres too much. Anyway, Champ there is in third. He's closed up very quickly to Lionsfoot into Mercedes, but it was too good to be true, and he's run deep, and this might give Bruce Law the opportunity he needs to get that position. We're going to go into the cockpit of the Marek with Bruce as they head through Mobile 1. They both run a bit wide. Champ a bit wider than Bruce as they head through Sachs now. It looks like Champ might just have it. This is very close. Eating the curb there from Bruce. He's managed to counter steer it though, and not upsetting the balance of his car too much. Using the whole width of the track of both of these drivers. But Richie is yet again running away from the lead with a 2.5 second gap to Lionsfoot. Oh, and that was a bit of a moment there from Champ on the exit of the Nordkurve as we head towards the Einfahrt Parabolica. Bruce quite close, but not quite close enough as they're going to be side by side as they head through the exit of turn 4 towards turn 5. Bruce had to back off a bit there and he's got to slow down. And he's going to be running in the slipstream of Champ. I think he's got to slow down anyway. As they head towards the hairpin, not really gaining enough time. No, through the hairpin, it looks like that was a bit deep from Champ, and we're going to ride on board. And they're going to be side by side as eating the curb there, and that's Bruce the wrong way round, and he's off in the gravel. And that is pretty much going to compromise his whole race. That is a big, big mistake. The dirty air just did not help him there, and he's lost it through that right-hander of turn 6. Absolutely unforgiving. It's flat out at the best of times, but in the dirty air it is just a little bit too much for the cars to handle. But once again, Richie absolutely flying away with this lead as we head on to lap 5 of 26. In the background though, Champ is still quite close behind Lionsfoot. Lionsfoot could go for 2 podiums this evening, but Champ is absolutely just going to get past him before the braking zone of the Nordkurve. Lionsfoot will not be giving up that easily though, and he'll definitely look for an opportunity to get back past the driver. Looking in the background though, it looks like Tuggy Bear is... Bruce is in the pits actually, and that's going to give Tuggy Bear 5th position with 7 drivers on track. That is Grandad just bring up the rear. It looks like he's not had the greatest start, although it's not too bad though. He's not too far behind Tuggy Bear. He could look to try and decrease that gap and potentially make a move at some point in the near future. Although Champ and Lionsfoot is dropping back a bit actually, and maybe just not being able to follow so closely with the dirty air, although it probably isn't affecting him so badly here, but just maybe a different setup, maybe just slightly slower around this track compared to Champ. Of course, the Hockenheimring is a fantastic track in my opinion. It also looks like a boot, or the layout of the track does. That's what I think anyway. You may have your different opinions on that, because you've got the heel of turns 15 and 16, then the tip of, or the toe rather, of turn 5. I don't know, maybe that's just me. And yeah, Champ is pulling a commanding gap over Lionsfoot, but if anyone's pulling a commanding gap, it's definitely Richie. He is absolutely controlling this race already in P1 with a 3-second gap. Actually, Champ is closing down relatively quickly, I have to be honest, and he'll be looking in his mirrors, although yeah, Champ lost a second there, so different speeds through different sectors potentially. Thank you, Leonardo, much appreciated. I haven't commed it for a few, for about a month, but I'm back and it's really good fun. I don't know why I stopped, to be honest. But anyway, Champ, here he is. He's pretty much consistent behind Richie, but that's not enough. He needs to be faster to get that position. And at this rate, it could come down to pit stop times, because they'll probably vary between the 2 drivers. So that will be something to keep an eye out of, or out on even. Yeah, so quite a few. The gap's beginning to increase as we head through to the middle stage of the race, and that is Champ running a bit wide on the exit of Parabolica. But he's managed to control it and just bring it back onto the track. There is Richie going through the hairpin now, so Champ has got a lot of time to make up, but he's got a lot of time to make up that time, so it's going to be a balancing game. And now we've got a Grandad here, and he's not too far behind Bruce. Bruce is not having a great race. He had a lot of pace in the sprint race before he disconnected, so I'm not quite sure what's happening with him in this feature. Oh no, of course he had it. What am I talking about? He had his pit stop already, so it's just Bruce, as I think, who's pitted so far, and we'll have to wait and see who pits and where the order will be after that, because Bruce really trying quite a steady undercut. Pitting only on lap 6 or so. But yeah, that's Tuggy Bear going through Mercedes now. Champ goes into the pits. Speaking of pit stops, and here he goes. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out. So we'll ride on board with him into his pit box in his RWD P30. Will we get a tyre change? I think it's just going to be slight fuel change and very, very quick pit stop from him. And that's put Lionsfoot and up to P2 and Ugbar into P3. As he comes out of the pit lane now, he won't lose any more positions. He'll come out ahead of Tuggy Bear. So that was a very weird camera there from the director. And fair enough, I think the cameraman just maybe having X-ray vision that we don't. Anyway, this is Ugbar in P3. He is 3 seconds ahead of Champ. Well, Champ's run a bit deep into the hairpin, so we'll have to wait and see whether Champ can pick up those positions quick enough and try and get back up into the position where he's fighting and trying not to lose time, as that is ideal. Just not having any dirty, having clean air and then being able to go as fast as possible. That is probably what he is intending to do. As yeah, Champ is closing down quite quickly with just a second and a half now to Ugbar. He'll be looking to get back up into those podium positions for now. He is definitely catching up quite quickly. He's got a lot of pace in these cars. And let's see what we can do. Let's have a look at the comment. Go, go, Ugbar, says Ingrid. And Smurf says, go Ugbar at the same time. So lots of support there for Ugbar. We'll be able to defend from Champ, and that could affect Champ's race if he does try something like that. So we'll wait and see, because it's now just half a second between two drivers, and he's going to have a look to the inside, and there's contact, and that is going to a stop goes Champ, and that is not ideal. Curse of the commentator. I said it might happen, and it is what happens. That is unfortunate for Champ. He'll be annoyed about that. That's going to cost him, I think that cost him three or 4 seconds. That is really not ideal for him, and he'll be looking to try and regain the time he lost there. He's still behind Ugbar. Ugbar managing to not get compromised as much in the contact. So we'll have a look at what these drivers can do and try and regain time. It's not going to rain, and I know Lionsfoot does love rain, so he won't be in his natural habitat, of course. Tomorrow, though, in the GT3 race, it will rain for the latter half of the feature race, I believe. So that will be very interesting around Laguna Seca, in the middle of the desert. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So the drivers will be looking to practice some of that as well. Anyway, Tuggy Bear there in 5th. Champ is catching back up to Ugbar. He'll be looking to get past him again. So it will be interesting. So as yet, it is just Champ and Ugbar and Bruce that have pitted. No other drivers as far as I can tell. So let's have a look at what he can do. So yeah, that's Champ. He's 1.5 seconds off Ugbar again. He is definitely faster, but he just needs to make a move that can work. Of course, they're on the same position, maybe not net position due to pit stops, and that is Grandad letting them through. Good sportsmanship from him there, not affecting either of the drivers' race, but that is Bruce, I think. No, that's not Bruce. There was someone running very wide there, and I think, yeah, who's that? I think that's Grandad, yeah, struggling for grip. He's let all of the drivers through. Bit confusing there with the lapped car, but he has let all of the drivers through. But a bit of a cost to himself. He's lost quite a bit of time there, but it has closed up Bruce to Tuggy Bear to Ugbar. So this will be very interesting, and we'll watch it from Bruce's perspective. And we can ride inside with him as we go through the Iron Farts Parabolica. Tuggy Bear will be looking to defend from him. Champ got past Ugbar quite easily there as Bruce goes past Tuggy Bear. How much of a fight will Tuggy Bear put up? We'll go to the off-board, the trackside camera. Side by side, down the inside though, will Bruce go? Yes, he does, into the hairpin. It looks like he's got the position, and I don't think Tuggy Bear is going to put up too much resistance, just because of the fact that Bruce is faster. And there's not really too much to dispute around that, as he, of course, has already done his pit stop. Keeping an eye on pit stops though, and we'll have to have a look and see what will happen, because Bruce is now closing up to Ugbar. And look at this as they go into Zax. That was very close, and that's caused Bruce to run deep. So, yeah, Ugbar definitely not going down without a fight. And we'll ride it inside the cockpit of Bruce as they head out of the Südkurve. Can Bruce try and get some kind of toe? He's going to look to the outside line through the Nordkurve and towards the Einfahrt Parabolica. It looks like a bit of a moment there for Ugbar. He's managed to hold on to it, but Bruce is going to get past him quite easily there. And now Bruce can start looking to begin his catch-up game to the top three. Champ is in front of him, as are Lionsfoot and Richie. So all to play for between those drivers. Ugbar not losing too much time to Bruce, although Richie even goes into the pits now. So 3 drivers so far to have pitted. And just behind here, we've got a bit of a battle emerging between Tuggy Bear and Ugbar potentially. So having a look out for that. We'll see what either of the drivers can do. And was that someone running wide on the exit there? So at Grandad's left, he was struggling for pace, and that is unfortunate for him, but fair enough. If that's a disconnection, understandable. If he left because just the feeling of the car, like happened earlier, that's fair enough as well. At least he did give it a good shot, and that puts Lionsfoot and Ugbar into the pits as well. So I think Tuggy Bear has yet to pit, and that is it. So we've just got 6 drivers left, 13 laps done, so we're at halfway through the race now. And we'll have a look, because Champ is catching up to Richie. Now they've both made their pit stops, just 4.5 seconds. This is going to be like the end of the sprint race now, except a lot closer. And with half the race distance to go, the equivalent of the sprint race, this will definitely cook up something interesting now. Bruce 16 seconds behind. He's got quite a lot of catching up to do, but if he's got enough pace, he might pull it off. So we'll keep an eye out on all of this information, as it will all be very, very interesting. So Champ's just set the fast sector 1 with a 17.4, and he also set at the fastest sector 3 before that with a 24.4, so he's definitely got a lot of pace, and you can see that by the fact that he's catching up to Richie quite a lot. That gap is now down to just 1.5 seconds. And he'll be looking to close that further. And there's someone off track there. And yeah, that's Tuggy Bear. He's had a bit of a moment on the exit of Mobile 1. He's off in the gravel trap, and he'll just be looking to not take anyone with him as he rejoins, but he looks to be quite safe from doing that. There don't seem to be any other drivers around him, fortunately. Tuggy hanging on in 4th. Well, never mind the console. I think you may have jinxed it there. It's unfortunate, Tuggy Bear, but we saw these cars just drive on the edge, and it's so easy to go over the edge in them. Yeah, the console. Yeah, that was a bit of a jinx there from you. Never mind. Curse of the commentator, more like curse of the spectator. And that is Champ. He's absolutely flying through these last couple of turns. He just needs to try and catch up to Richie. I'm not sure how much of an effect the Dirty Air will be having. 1.5 seconds back, and more like 2 seconds back. It's quite variable actually, this gap, so keeping an eye on it, it's going to be interesting. Also, Tuggy Bear and Ugbar, they'll be one to watch as well as we head towards the latter stages of the race. Quite close, and that's a bit of a warning symbol next to Champ's name. Not quite sure why that is, but now just 1.5 seconds to Richie. That gap is getting bigger and then getting smaller again as we head through Parabolica towards the turn, the Spitzkehre, as it's properly named, and that looks like a slowdown for Champ. He may have cut the corner there because he gained about half a second on Richie through the hairpin. He's losing again, so it looks like Richie might just have more straight line speed in that Toyota. I'm not entirely sure, but quite a few yellow warning signs coming up next to Champ's name. So yeah, just under 3 seconds, more like 2.5 seconds between Tuggy Bear and Ugbar. So we'll have to see if Ugbar can make a catch-up game and try and take 5th position off Tuggy Bear. That will be interesting as we're on lap 15 now of 26. So with just over 11 laps to go, we'll see what can happen. Now then, yeah, it looks like Ugbar might be catching up quite a bit then. And that gap is just 1.5 seconds, actually more like 2 seconds. It's quite variable, so yeah, that's going to be very interesting. But right now, the most important battle is between Champ and Richie. With that now down to a second as we head through the Spitzkehre. Interesting if they had a carousel around here, like in the Nürburgring, but of course we can't have everything. Although, looking at this, Ugbar, couple of warning symbols, but he's definitely catching up to Tuggy Bear. That gap is down to under a second now as Tuggy Bear's run wide, and what is he? He's just stopped in the middle of the track, and that's given Ugbar the position of 5th. I think a bit of a moment there from Tuggy Bear. Oh, he was going into the pits. That must have been a shock and a half for Ugbar because he had to cut across the track to do that, although not quite on the scale that Lewis Hamilton did during the 2019 German Grand Prix. So I think he can be forgiven for that. Just a bit of a shock there for Ugbar, I think. Both of the drivers nearly come to a complete stop. And yeah, look at this. Champ is struggling to just make up this final second on Richie to try and take the lead. Or maybe he's just staying out of his dirty air for now, trying to preserve his car, his tyres, all that kind of stuff, and make a final push towards the end of the race. With about 8 laps to go, this is definitely going to be a very, very spicy finish. Now, I believe that everyone has pitted at this stage. I'm not sure if that will say that on the timing screen or not. No, but at least we do know they pitted. And now Champ is within a second. Just 8 tenths now. He is closing up. It looks like he might try and get the position sooner rather than later. Although he's had a poorer exit on the towards Mobile 1. Into Sachs then. This is very, very tense. I know you at home might be on the edges of your seat, because I certainly am. You can't tell who's going to win this race at this stage. Of course, Richie has got the advantage, him being in first. It's all down to Champ. Can he make up those last few morsels of time and send it down the inside and take that position? We will have to wait and see, and it's definitely going to become a waiting game. Lap 19 of 27, because 26 laps, so actually on lap 18 of 26, so 8 laps to go. It's confusing, but it's so that we can do the reverse order, and that is fair enough, and I think definitely worth having the reverse order. It adds a little bit of spice into the mix, especially when there's a relatively evenly matched grid. Anyway, heading through the right-hander there into Mercedes goes Champ. Still a second behind. He gains time and he loses time. It's a bit of a rough estimate whether whether they'll make up time or not. You can never be too sure. Yeah, look at that, just over a second now for Champ. He can't make up those last couple of seconds. He's really struggling, or maybe he's trying to play that to his advantage. I'm not quite sure, but it is very interesting. No, but Bruce Law has disconnected again. That is so unfortunate for him. He hasn't made it to 75% of the race completion, and that leaves us with just 5 drivers on the track now. That is really, really unfortunate for Bruce, and that's going to put Lionsfoot back up into the podium position. So once again, the disconnection has benefited the Welsh driver, but that is very unfortunate for Bruce. That's 2 disconnections in an evening. You've got to feel for him. I mean, he's probably done a lot of practice for this evening, and for that to just go down the drain due to connection, it's very, very unfortunate for him. But on the bright side, Lionsfoot is now in with a shot of getting a podium. And we're coming up to Akbar now, and Akbar is about to get lapped, and this could have a bit of an effect on the order. We'll have to wait and see how easily he lets Champ and Richie through with just a second between them. It might become a bit awkward, because he can't really they're just slightly too far behind to let them through in one turn. So we'll have to wait and see how Akbar decides to do this. There's a bit of gravel on the exit of Sachs, so that's going to have a little bit of an effect on the grip of the tyres through there, but it shouldn't be too much. There's always going to be gravel on the exit of the final turn though. As we head out of the Südkurve, Richie is definitely closing up to Champ is definitely closing up to Richie even, as that is now down to under a second quite solidly. As going into the cones, taking a couple with him goes Akbar. He's going to let them both through very seamlessly. Now Champ though is in quite a position to make a move as they head through the Einfahrt Parabolica onto the main Parabolica. Just around half a second separates them, heading towards the Spitzkehre now. The slipstream will definitely be benefiting the RWD P30 of Champ, and that is the most dominant car on the track now. Is on the exit of the hairpin. Richie ran a bit wide. He's come back across and defended the position from Champ just by using his exit speed. Very good racing from these drivers. Lap 20 of 26. This is very, very interesting. Let me know in the comments down below who you think is going to win, because Champ might just do this. He's half a second behind. As we head towards Sachs, we might see him move into the Nordkurve, although that would be very risky. I think he might have to wait until the hairpin next lap on lap 21. So we'll wait and see what he can do. Heading out of the Südkurve now. Just 0.4 of a second. The slipstream will be working in Champ's favour, although through the Nordkurve it will not help. That dirty air is not going to be beneficial through such a downforce heavy corner, and you can see it's cost him a 10th or 2 there, heading in towards the Einfahrt Parabolica, which is followed by the main Parabolica of turn 5. Lunge into the hairpin next lap, says the console, although Richie to take the win. He predicts it will be close. We could see 2 different winners this evening, or we could see the same top 2. I've got an invitation from Smithy for Project Cars, not entirely sure why, although on the exit goes Champ. He's going to be right up the chuff of Richie. Might have to wait till the following lap, as Richie predicted. So Champ, as the console predicted, getting confused on that, and that's Richie. He's made a mistake. He's made a mistake into Mercedes, and that's going to give Champ the lead of the race. That is unfortunate for him. He'd driven such a perfect race up to that point, and he's just had a bit of a side. He's lost it, and that's going to give Champ the position. Now it's sort of a question of whether Champ can defend the position or not. Of course, with 5 laps to go, this could be anyone's race. It's just like the Grand National, and that is a 2-second gap though, so quite hefty now for Richie. Leckie in there with a go. Champ obviously very happy about that move. It'll be interesting to see whether Richie can take it. Yeah, so console saying he should shut up. Yeah, the curse of the console has struck multiple times this evening, and yeah, no offense, I think it's probably an idea to just be quiet now. It's fair enough. It was getting a bit ridiculous anyway. Although, to be fair, Richie is now within 1.5 seconds, so he might be able to catch up to the console. We'll have to wait and see. It will be really, really interesting about who can take the lead here. Lap 22 of 26. Heading into the final sector for the final few laps now. Let's see what these drivers can pull out of the bag for the end of the race. 1.5 seconds. The gap between Richie and Champ. This is going to be a serious push here from the number 7 Toyota. If he's going to take the win, and he's down by 7/10. It looks like he's struggling now. Maybe the tyre's not quite working in his favour as he's run wide out of Nordkurve. It's all just coming apart for Richie now. This is very unfortunate for him, but Champ driving very well. He's managed to take the lead. And having a look at fuel, Richie's on 1 litre less, so I don't think that's going to have too much of an impact on the outcome of the race. And I don't think Richie's going to be cutting it quite so close, or the Champ even is going to be cutting it quite so close as he did with the sprint race. Champ is definitely faster there. You can see over the last lap he was faster by around 0.2 of a second. And he's now got a 4-second gap. And the stitching is just coming apart for Richie. How unfortunate. That does mean we're going to have 2 different winners in 2 different races, which is, of course, going to be interesting for the championship with the current standings without points for this race added up. Oh, I'll just get it up quickly. Just have a quick look. Forgot when my camera roll was. Yeah, so Champ is actually leading the championship, and this is just going to benefit him even more. The console's in second, 38 points behind though. Then it's going to be Richie on 269, Brewster on 233, Unicart on 223. Neither of them will be getting points this evening. Ugbot on 194, JR Lockenload on 115, Andy on 102, Flecky on 85, Lionsfoot on 67. I was on 63, but of course I'm no longer racing. Tuggy Bear though is on 27, although he will be improving after this result. He's currently tied with FJ, Shand and Grandad, and of course Grandad won't be finishing this evening. Anyway, lap 24 of 26 then. It is coming home for Champ, unlike the Rugby World Cup for England, but he will be very chuffed about this. I'm annoyed as well. Don't worry. Champ and Richie. It was an excellent battle, and it looks like Champ is going to be the one on top as we are now entering the penultimate lap of the race. Oh, a bit has all come undone, and there's a spin. I said Champ had it in the bag, but that is curse of the commentator. Richie is going to get past, so Champ's just had a moment out of the Nordkurve, and on the second to last lap, he's had a mistake, and Richie is going to hold on to the lead. So you never know, Alex. You might have got this one right, although it is still too early to tell. Anything can happen. We've still got around 5 miles to go, so you never know. We might see something like that happen again in the following lap. This is very, very interesting then. I don't think I definitely wasn't expecting Richie to get back in the lead. Richie's disconnected, and oh dear, and that's put Champ in the lead, Lionsfoot in second, and Ugbar in third. And I've cursed it again twice in the course of a lap. That is not good, but that is Champ in the lead. So really unfortunate there for Richie. He will get points, but for finishing in a fourth, at least he completed over 75% of the race, so at least he will have those points. But unfortunately for him, it won't be the win, as here comes Champ to start the final lap of the evening. in the lead, and I don't think he can lose it now. He's got a minute lead ahead of Lionsfoot, unless I'm very much mistaken. Yeah. Alex, don't say anything. I'm sure Champ will be praying Alex is silent for now. We'll have to wait and see though, but Richie's rejoined, and that is just such a kick in the teeth for him. He'd driven so excellently. Himself and Champ have both been driving really well this evening, and for him to disconnect is really disappointing. Although fortunately for Richie, there were only 4 drivers left. There are only 4 drivers left in the lobby, so it's not such a dramatic loss of points as if there would be if there were, for instance, 12 drivers in the lobby. But anyway, here comes Champ towards the Mobile 1 curve for the final time this evening, heading into the 3rd sector, and there's pretty much all lapped cars ahead of him. Into Sachs then, and through turns 13 and 14 into turn 15, past the drag strip, and through the Südkurve for the final time. Champ takes the checkered flag and the win here in Hockenheim. Very aggressive swerving and flashing of the headlights. Fair enough for him. He's driven so well this evening, himself and Richie. Excellent driving from both of them. You've got to give it to him. You've got to feel for Richie as well. It's just so unfortunate for him. But anyway, we've got, I think it's Ugbar coming up to the line next to take 3rd. So he'll be on the podium following multiple disconnections in the top 3. And next will be Lionsfoot. No, he's just come out of Spitzkehrer, but Tuggy Bear is going to be closer to the line as he's heading towards Mobile 1 now. Absolute scenes here this evening around the Hockenheimring. And very interesting. Oh, and Tuggy Bear decides to take the brake marker board with him as he heads through Sachs for the final time. And through turns 15 and 16 he goes. And he'll take 4th this evening. So some very solid points he'll be bringing home. Flashing the headlights. He's made it to the end. And it's just Lionsfoot now, heading through the Südkurve for the final time. And across the line goes Lionsfoot to take 2nd. What a race. Yeah, that is true. But the finishing order, it will be Champ taking the lead, and Lionsfoot with Ugbar 3rd on the podium. Tuggy Bear just missing out this evening, but still some very solid points. What a fantastic race.